All right, everyone, get ready, because we're about to dive deep into the world of Pilates instruction. And let me tell you, after going through all this material, I was like, whoa, no way. There's so much I didn't know. We've got a whole stack of resources from RoleCatcher here about what it really takes to be a Pilates
And
teacher.
it's not just about like being able to rock the moves yourself. I think what really struck me was how this career path really combines like physical expertise with honestly some pretty serious business skills.
Right. Like, did you know there's AI out there now to help tailor your resume for this? It's wild. The future of fitness is like a whole other level. But okay, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take it back to the beginning. What does a typical day even look like for a Pilates teacher?
Well, it's a lot more than just calling out the next move, that's for sure. The role catcher guy, it actually breaks it down really well. You're not just an instructor, you're assessing, you're designing programs, you're a motivator. You're like a lifelong learner. It's a lot to juggle.
Hold up, lifelong learner. Okay, I gotta be honest, that makes me a little nervous. How often are we talking here? Like, how often do you have to update your skills and stuff?
It's pretty ongoing, which honestly is a good thing. That means you're always on the cutting edge of the industry. New research comes out, techniques evolve, even technology is playing a bigger role these days. Rollcatcher really stressed that staying current is like a core responsibility, pun intended.
Okay, whoa, technology, hold on. In Pilates? I mean, you can't exactly replace hands-on instruction, can you?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. One of the biggest aha moments for me was reading about the rise of online Pilates classes. And it's not just a pandemic fad. This is changing how things are done. Rollcatcher talked about how it's creating a ton of opportunities for instructors who want more flexibility.
Mm.
Like imagine teaching from anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
and it makes classes accessible to people who might not be able to make it to a studio, so it's a whole new audience.
Wow. So it's not just comfy pants and ditching the gym commute. This online boom is changing who can teach and who has access to Pilates. It's huge. Okay, speaking of changing things up, let's talk about the career path itself. Rollcatcher. They laid out this whole progression that kind of surprised me.
I know, right? Like, forget the whole just a Pilates teacher thing.
Yeah.
They start with the Pilates assistant role, which is a great way to get your foot in the door, and then go all the way up to senior teacher mentor. It's like a legit career ladder.
With some seriously valuable skills. I bet, those transferable skills everyone's always talking about. What kind of stuff are we talking about here? What do you gain as you move up that ladder?
This is where it gets really cool. Think about it. Client communication, adapting programs for different needs and body types, even studio management. These are skills that translate way beyond just Pilates. You're not just building a client base, you're developing a business mind, which is pretty awesome.
Hold on, are you saying a career in Pilates could actually be entrepreneurial?
Totally. Rollcatcher even talks about how experienced instructors can go on to open their own studios or lead workshops. Yeah, it's about passion, for sure. But it's also about building something of your own. It's a side of Pilates I never really considered before.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention now, but let's be real for a sec. What about the pros and cons? Does Rollcatcher try to sugarcoat it, or do they give it to you straight?
You know what? They're surprisingly honest, which is refreshing. They don't shy away from the challenges, but they also highlight the amazing rewards. It's all about balance, right?
Yeah, totally. So hit me with it. What are some of the unexpected perks and pitfalls they talk about?
Well, on the plus side, the flexibility is a major perk. You set your own hours, work with a diverse group of people. It's perfect for someone who values autonomy. And of course, there's that deep satisfaction of helping people improve their well-being, which has got to feel pretty good.
That makes total sense. But what about the downsides? What does Rollcatcher say about the not so glamorous parts?
They're pretty upfront about the physical demands. It's a lot of being on your feet, demonstrating movements, making adjustments. Plus, you're emotionally invested in your clients, which can be draining if you don't make time for self-care.
Burnout is real in any profession, really, but especially one where you're so connected to your client's progress. Makes sense that Rollcatcher would emphasize that.
Totally. And here's one that might surprise you. They actually spend time talking about injury prevention.
Oh, for the instructors themselves, right. Makes sense when you think about it, all those repetitive movements and adjustments.
Exactly. They really emphasize how important it is to take care of your own well-being so you can keep doing what you love. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
Right, gotta take care of yourself. But let's be real, Pilates is getting super popular these days. You need more than just passion to stand out. Rollcatcher talks about certifications. Did they mention any that are like the top dogs?
They did. They specifically called out the PMA, Balanced Body, and STOT Pilates certifications. Those are seen as super valuable in the industry.
Makes sense. Those organizations are known for their intense training.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
not just about getting a certificate to show off. It shows employers that you've got the knowledge and the skills to teach safely and effectively,
Yeah.
you know?
It's about the quality behind it, not just the paper itself.
Exactly. And speaking of standing out, RoleCatcher had some cool stuff about specialization, too.
Oh, yeah, finding your niche. That makes sense. Like, just becoming an expert in some specific thing, right? Makes you more in demand. What kind of specializations are we even talking about for Pilates, though?
Oh, tons. Prenatal Pilates, working with athletes, injury recovery, Pilates for seniors. There are so many options.
So you can really build a career you're passionate about, something that plays to your strengths.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what we haven't talked about in a while? That whole AI thing.
Oh, yeah, the robots are coming for our Pilates studios.
Right. Like, seriously, what did RoleCatcher have to say about it?
Well, luckily, no robots just yet. But they did talk about some really neat AI tools designed to help people who want to teach Pilates. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, imagine this. Using AI to practice for job interviews, or even to, like, tailor your resume for specific job postings, and even getting noticed by potential employers who are looking for your exact skills.
Wait, AI that can actually read your resume and see if it's a good fit for a job? That's incredible. Even beyond just Pilates, that'd be super helpful.
I know, right? It's like having a personal career coach in your back pocket.
Yeah.
It's just one example of how technology is changing the game for job seekers these days. And RoleCatcher is ahead of the curve with it.
For sure. They're not just giving information, they're giving people actual tools to help them launch a career.
Awesome. Okay, so we've covered a ton. We talked about what a Pilates teacher actually does, how technology is changing the field, lots to unpack.
It's been a deep dive for sure. And honestly, we're just scratching the surface of what RoleCatcher has.
So true. But for our listeners who are now, like, completely psyched about this career path, what are the main things to remember? What's the takeaway?
The big thing is becoming a successful Pilates teacher. It takes more than just loving Pilates. It's a start, though, right? Loving Pilates.
For sure, passion is essential. But you also got to make smart choices for your career. You got to never stop learning, and you got to be open to new opportunities.
And maybe get a little help from AI along the way.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
field that's always changing, and you've got to be willing to change with it if you want to really succeed.
Love it. Okay, before we go full on future, let's come back to right now. If someone's hearing this and they're like, all right, I'm in, Pilates is it, what do I do? What's step one?
Easy. Go to RoleCatcher and check out all their free stuff. They've got articles, guides, even those AI tools we were just talking about. It's the perfect place to start.
Perfect. And hey, you might just find you've got a passion for it. Speaking of passion, this just came to mind, but RoleCatcher's Guide had this whole thing about how Pilates isn't just about physical fitness, it's about the mind-body connection too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's a big part of it, even if people don't realize it.
Right. And it got me thinking, in our world, everyone's so stressed, so busy all the time, this whole mind-body connection. It's more important than ever. People are craving that.
Totally. And that goes hand in hand with another thing RoleCatcher talked about, this whole idea of holistic wellness.
Okay, so how does holistic wellness tie into Pilates?
Well, it's like this. People are
Yes.
realizing that feeling good isn't just about physical health. It's mental, emotional, even spiritual well-being, all of it.
And Pilates just fits right in there, doesn't it? With the breath work and the focus and the controlled movements, it seems like a natural fit for that whole holistic wellness thing.
Totally. Like it was made for it, which got me thinking, what is this whole like increased focus on holistic wellness is actually a huge opportunity for Pilates teachers.
Ooh, I like where you're going with this. So it's not just teaching people to like nail the teaser or whatever. It's about guiding them toward a deeper sense of well-being. All that good stuff people are looking for these days, right?
Exactly. And who better to do that than someone who really knows Pilates, right?
Yeah.
Someone who's passionate about it. It's almost like being like a wellness coach who just happens to use Pilates as their main tool.
Okay, that is a really cool way to think about it. So for anyone listening who's now thinking about like opening up their own holistic Pilates studio and like, changing the world one breath at a time, any final words of wisdom from the RoleCatcher Guide? What's the one thing you really want them to remember from this whole conversation?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing is this. The world needs more people who are passionate about Pilates. People are craving connection and balance and well-being. Pilates can give them that.
So if you feel like you've got something to offer, if you want to help people feel better, move better, live better, maybe this is your sign. And RoleCatcher's right there with you. They've got your back with all the info and the resources, even those AI tools we talked about. Everything you need to get started.
It's true. They've got it all. This deep dive has been amazing, even for me. And I thought I knew a thing or two about Pilates.
Me too. Huge thanks to RoleCatcher for the amazing resources and to all of you for joining us. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those cores engaged.